Okay, so we've got attributes and we've got skills, and we've learned how to put them into a dice pool. But at this point, these are still just stats on a paper. They define, what we can do, but not necessarily who we are and how our character fits into the game setting and into a game session. So from here, we're going to go and choose a heritage for our character. And that heritage indicates their cultural and their ethnic background, where they come from, what group they come from. And, in the setting, before the War of Ashes, before the apocalypse, most of these groups were fairly sequestered. There wasn't a lot of intermingling between them, and now there is. So now we have these groups who are all together, forced to live together in the apocalypse. So this heritage, which ties into their lineage, is going to define, where they came from prior to the start of the story. The many heritages of Enoch are all descended from 5 shared lineages. And these lineages are our ancestors that gave rise to each of the particular heritages. They've adapted, they've spread over time, but they're very similar. But they've taken on their own cultural identity. So think of a lineage as like a shared ancestry. So different groups of the same lineage share some physiological, some linguistic, some cultural similarities, but they are, unique in and of themselves. So in a way, they're like distant cousins. So where in the past there had been many heritages spread out across Enoch, the War of Ashes was really brutal, and a lot of them didn't survive. The core rules is going to focus on 4 of those groups of survivors that have come together under the banner of the Varangian Alliance, and that's going to start with Elonian, She, Steelbrand, and Warg. And there are more, but we don't want to overwhelm, players right off the bat, so we will introduce those as we progress. The description of each heritage is going to give you a brief overview of how they fit into the game setting, a little bit of history, some background about them. It's also going to provide 2 advantages, and one is drawn from their shared lineage and one is unique to that heritage. So those 2 advantages, and they're fairly minor in terms of game mechanics, are there to add some role-playing flair, but also to help that character out. They may, say, add a die to a certain dice pool when the character uses it. Additionally, there's some appearance and physiological details, and these are meant to be, what the average person of that heritage might look like. And it's important to note that, your character is not average, and you don't necessarily have to strictly stick to that. So, do what you want with your character. These are more what the average person would look like. So first up are Elonians, and they are of Hamana descent. The Hamana, who would become Elonians, are descended from the first Hamana settlers who traveled to Enoch about 3 centuries earlier. They're versatile, they're adaptable, they tend to have a medium build, brown, blonde, or black hair. Skin can be anywhere from an ivory white to a dark ebony. As far as advantages go, Hamana have 2 key advantages. One, jack of all trades. So they can choose one skill category, whether knowledges, proficiencies, or talents, and they get a phantom die in each of those skills, each of those 8 skills. So basically what that does is it gives them 1 die in a situation where they don't have any skill. They also have Master of One, which allows them to choose any one skill they want, and they get a permanent +1 bonus to that one skill. The only caveat to that is they can't choose a skill that's in the same category as their Jack of all trades. So if they chose proficiencies as their Jack of all trades, they can't choose, say, melee. They would have to choose either a knowledge or a talent. They can't double up. So our next option would be She, spelled Sidhe, and they are of Elfwin descent. The She were once the mighty rulers of the nation of Aelu in the central forests of Enoch. their forest homes destroyed, they've become refugees, and they've taken up with the Varangian Alliance. In terms of appearance, they tend to be tall and thin, with their signature slanted eyes and elongated ears. Their skin and hair tends to be brightly colored, often red, orange, or yellow. In terms of advantages, they get serene slumber, which allows them to avoid any ambush penalties while resting. It also makes them immune to sleep effects. And they get acute perception, which gives them +1 die on all aim and awareness skill rolls. Plus, they can ignore 1 die of darkness penalty per point of wisdom rating. Our third choice are Steelbrand, and they are of Dvergar descent. So the original inhabitants of the Ironvar Mountains, the Steelbrand, were once held as servants due to the Elven Civil War. During the War of Ashes, they've broken free to forge their own destiny. Steelbrand tend to be strong and thick, big shoulders, thick legs. Their hair tends to be a white or a gray color, which matches their pale-looking skin. This is from a life of living basically underground. In terms of advantages, Steelbrand gain Logical Mind, which grants them +1 die on all engineering and metallurgy skill rolls. It also gives them +1 resistance to mental conditions. They also get Body of the Underworld, which doubles their stamina when attempting to hold their breath, and it allows them to ignore 1 die of complete darkness penalty per point of intellect attribute. So our final choice is going to be Warg, who are of Cro-Mag descent. So Warg, in terms of their history, have had a very adversarial relationship with most of the other heritages. For a lot of history, they were kind of on the wrong side of things. But they've come around in the War of Ashes, and they've become very valuable to the Varangian Alliance. In terms of appearance, they're large, powerfully built, with kind of a savage look to them, including wild hair and some kind of sharp canine-looking teeth. When it comes to advantages, their advantages go right along with that. They get Ready to Throw Down, which gives them +1 to physical condition resistance. It also allows them to act defensively during surprise phase. And they get Large and in Charge, which grants them +1 to Intimidation and Brawl skill rolls. So, the moment of truth. We're building a character, so what am I going to choose? And like I said, I have a concept in mind. I want to make my character, a former soldier who works as, kind of a muscle for hire. So I'm going to choose Steelbrand. So here's our character sheet so far. And I've gone and noted Steelbrand as the heritage, and I put my advantages in there. I've also noted that languages, I speak Dver, because that's, I'm a Dvergar lineage. I used my 1 point of linguistics, which I took in knowledges, to pick up Ham as a second language, which my character can speak, but he can't read or write in it. So he's conversant in it, but that's it. I named this character Brevin Ironfist. I put an appearance in. He's wide, he's thick, white beard, blue eyes, funny, boisterous, a little rugged and calloused, which I think goes along with the concept. I mean, if you look at the attributes and the skills that I chose, melee and brawl and ecology, charm and command, negotiation, it really all kind of lends itself to the concept that I've chosen for this character. So we're done with that step. So we're going to move on, and our next choice is going to be selecting a calling.